section to also get settled. It's quite busy there at that corner there. Thank you very much. Your Excellency, the Deputy President of the Republic of South Africa, is also the Chairperson of Human Resource Development Council, Honorable Paul Mashatile, the Minister of Higher Education and Training, Honorable Buti Manamela, the Chairpersons of Deputy Chairpersons of HRDC Council, Dr. Tembi Kaba and Mr. Duncan Luvuno, members of the Human Resource Development Council, Chairperson of the National Youth Development Agency, Dr. Yende, Director General, Ms. Baleni, Director General, Dr. Sishi, and other senior executive managers from various departments, Mr. Maluleka, the Statistician General of South Africa, Dr. Anusha Naidu, Acting Deputy Director General in the Department of Public Service and Administration, Deputy President's advisors and the support team, our international and diplomatic partners who are present here with us, particularly Jacqueline, Science and Technology Counselor and Embassy of Switzerland, who have been our partners here in South Africa. We also wish to acknowledge Chief Executive Officer of Botswana Human Resource Development Council, leaders of organized labor, leaders of organized business, civil society leadership, including all the leaders coming from the organized labor and all the leaders. Chief Executive Officer of Business Unity South Africa, the head of Secretariat for HRDC, all heads of institutions, of social partners, the panelists that are going to be helping us here navigate those discussions here today, all the delegates and distinguished guests that are present, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning. Anybody here? Okay. Now I can hear somebody here. On behalf of the Human Resource Development Council, my name is Nomusa Dube Ngube, the Deputy Minister of Higher Education and Training. I have a pleasure in welcoming you all in the 5th National HRD Summit, following the 4th summit, which was hosted in 2021. It has been a long break of nearly 4 years between these events, and during which a great deal has changed, and some changes are very recently, and some changes we are going to be reflecting on during this next 2 days. So we meet here, ladies and gentlemen, to take stock of these changes and to decide how we should respond. The summit is the first to be convened post-COVID-19 pandemic, which required the world to adapt to the new ways of living, which was a game changer, as it fundamentally affected the way we live, work, and interact with others. Almost instantly, the public-private sector had to come up with alternative mechanisms for continuity of learning and working. Online schools, colleges, universities, proliferation of working at home, online meetings had to become a norm in order for us to adapt to this new living world. New skills were required to pave the way of living. So this summit must be a platform to identify these new skills and find ways to develop them through the human resource development pipeline. The fact that human resource development has been severely disrupted and requires a concerted response to ensure that people are reskilled, upskilled, and cross-skilled to respond to the market trends is a need for us to be here. The time is now to become innovative, the solution-driven, and ensure that post-2021 summit and all constituencies that signed the social compact, where they were committing themselves to implement, to work together towards achieving the HRD strategy goals, is coming to light. It is also necessary to relook at all these compacts and assess whether they have identified the right interventions and whether they served the purpose. The thematic areas and the commissions which will be held today and tomorrow will provide the opportunity for us to be able to discuss and also reflect on all these events that have happened since then. Even though these challenges are not unique to South Africa, and many other countries have been identifying some of these strategies and considering what is it that needs to be done in the new way of living. A recent publication of the World Economic Forum entitled The Future of Jobs in 2025 identified the major drivers of change as well as the kind of skills that are required to adapt to these changes. Critically, the report notes that human-centered skills will become increasingly important and valued. The report also says while analytical skills and thinking remains the most sought-after skills, people who exhibit resilience, flexibility, and agility are most likely to prosper in the workplace, but it also reports and concludes that these are some of the skills that we all should be looking at. So this summit today, ladies and gentlemen, brings together key role players from all 4 subsectors to contribute to the human resource development of our country. Government is here, led by our Deputy President, Paul Mashatile, and supported by various executive members of government. Business is here, also strongly represented by its leadership, which is very much welcome, as both as providers and beneficiaries of human resource development. Business is also here. Business is also here in their numbers. Organized labor is present here. Trade unions are an essential partner in these discussions, representing the beneficiaries of HRD in the workplace. And we welcome all the leadership of the federations as well as the individual unions. We look forward to the strategic engagements which will be steered towards the South Africa's G20 presidency theme, which said solidarity, equality, and sustainability. Civil society is also here as a 4th pillar of our system, which plays a critical role in advocating for marginalized communities, and we welcome you very much as well. This includes many NGOs, CBOs, and faith-based organizations involved in human resource development. Our program for the next 2 days is a full, but also it contains many other aspects that will give us an opportunity to be able to make various inputs. The HRDC Council will be representing both in a summit to conceptualize our HRD strategy, which outlines the interventions towards building educated, skilled, capable state. Some of these may well have changed in these thematic areas that we are going to be working on. Building skills for foundation, building skills for transformed economy and society, and building skills for a capable state. We'll be inviting and re-looking at commitments that were made in 2021 and propose new ways of collaborating under the auspices of this council to drive and support human resource development. We will also, as we are gathering, looking at opportunities to consider the central matter of achieving our national development plan. We know that we have many unemployed people in our communities, and we also know that we have many unfilled position and jobs out there. Participants at this summit need to look at all of those things. There's a lot of mismatch, but the question is, are we here, are we equal to the task? Are there things that need to be changed, or are there things that need to be done better? Are these perhaps some of the things that we should be done better than what we have been doing before? Let us hear your voices so that we can change and improve the trajectory of our human resource development agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here to work. We are here to shape what South Africa look at today and tomorrow. And I'm honored, ladies and gentlemen, at this particular time to call the champion of the HRDC Council, who's also a secretariat of the HRDC under the stewardship of our Honorable Deputy President, Minister of Higher Education and Training, Honorable Manamela, to come and give us his address and remarks. But also, you also invite the Deputy President to come and give the keynote address. Let's give him a round of applause, please.
Thank you very much, Program Director and Deputy Minister. Deputy President, who's the chairperson of this council, and a leader whose commitment to this agenda we deeply respect. Honorable ministers and deputy ministers, premiers, and members of the executive councils, leaders of business, labor, and civil society, the constituencies whose choices, more than any government policy, will determine whether this summit means anything. Deputy Chairpersons of Council, Dr. Tembi Kaba and Mr. Duncan Luvuno, former Deputy Chairpersons, Ms. Azola Maekiso and Mr. Bekin Chalinchali, we are grateful for what you've built. HRDC ESCO members and council members, former and current directors general and senior officials, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we want to begin not just with a welcome, but with a number, 60%. In many of our provinces, 6 out of every 10 young people between the ages of 15 and 34 are unemployed, not between jobs, not between qualifications, unemployed, sitting at home or sitting on a street corner, with every year that passes taking something from them that we cannot give back. Their confidence, their sense of possibility, their belief that the country they were born into as a place for them. We've been gathering at summits like this one, this being our 5th, for over a decade. We've produced strategies, compacts, declarations, communiques. Some of them have produced real results. Many may have not. And still, that number sits there, 60%. We raise this not to condemn what has been done. We raise it because we owe it to young people to be honest with ourselves about why we are here today, and about what it will take to make this gathering different from the ones that came before it. The President has called for a skilled revolution, not a program, not an initiative, but a revolution. In the State of the Nation address earlier this year, our President was unambiguous. Human capital development is the central national priority of this administration. Not because it sits well in policy documents, but because South Africa cannot grow, cannot create jobs, cannot transform its economy, and cannot build a capable state without the skills to do all these things. That mandate is the political foundation of this summit. Everything we do here, the strategies we are launching, the compacts we are refreshing, and the commitments that we are signing must be understood in that context. This is not a routine biennial gathering, which of course is now a little bit delayed. It is the moment at which the country's social partners decide whether the skills revolution is a government project or a national compact. If it is a government project, it will achieve what most government projects typically achieve, some of it unevenly but not fast enough. If it is a national compact, if every constituency in this room owns a defined part of the solution and is held publicly accountable for delivering it, then something different becomes possible. The HRDC exists precisely to be the home of that compact. That is why the Deputy President chairs it, and that is why business, labor, civil society, and government sits around the same table. The architecture was designed for exactly this moment. The question before us is whether we are going to use this architecture. The theme that we've chosen, which is living and working in a changing world, is not conference branding. It is a description of the actual condition of the people that we serve. The fourth industrial revolution is not approaching. It is here. Artificial intelligence, Deputy President, your favorite topic, is already shaping what jobs exist, what skills they require, and what it means to be productive. Our speakers today will bring evidence from the World Economic Forum and from leading institutions about the scale and pace of this disruption, greater than most skill systems in the world are currently prepared for. The Just Energy Transition, which we launched a couple of months before, right in this venue, the skills desk, is creating new demand for artisans, technicians, and engineers in sectors that did not exist in their current form 5 years ago. The green economy is growing. The digital economy is itself growing. The platform economy is growing, bringing with it a form of work that does not look like a job in the traditional sense, but is work nonetheless, performed by millions of South Africans who deserve qualifications, protections, and a skills pathway. The good news is that the reconceptualized human resource development strategy and master skills plan, which we'll be handing over to you, Deputy President, today, that we are also launching, have tried to account for this changing landscape. This is the most comprehensive and forward-looking national skills framework that South Africa has produced. We are proud of it. The department, together with the Secretariat and the HRDC Exco, working in close collaboration with all constituencies through the council structures, has done serious and sustained work. And the constituencies of this council adopted this strategy, and it now belongs to all of us. But we want to be direct about something else. A strategy, however excellent, does not train anyone. A master skills plan does not place a single young person in a workplace. A summit declaration does not make a firm hire or make a union support a new qualification pathway or make a young person in a rural district believe that the public college near them has something real to offer. Documents create the framework. People make the change. And the people in this room are the ones who have to make that change. Let us first start by naming what we believe is working, because we have to acknowledge this and acknowledge that we're not starting on a clean slate. We're seeing genuine collaborations in corners of this system that give us real encouragement. In the basic education sector, a collaboration framework between government, business, and labor has been formalized. A trust established under that framework makes joint programming possible. That is what the HRDC model looks like when it works. The Skills Summit, convened by CETAS, has identified high-impact projects, cross-sectoral programs that are being implemented. The Just Energy Transition has developed a cross-cutting skills plan with shared ownership across affected partners. These are not small things. The architecture of collaboration exists. People are using it in places to real effect. And this summit's job is to take what works in the corners and make it the dominant practice, to move from pockets of collaboration to a systemic compact. But we must also confront the harder things. We have, in some instances, governance issues. not policy problems, because we have the best of those as we celebrated all over the world. Not primarily a funding issue, which I think we agree that if we cut certain inefficiencies, we may be able to redirect funding towards what matters. But one of the key challenges we have is a governance issue. The institutions who have built to implement this strategy are not yet operating at the level that the task requires. Our SITA system holds billions of rands in levy funds and has the potential to transform skills delivery at sector level. In some sectors, it is doing exactly that. In others, the funds are not reaching learners in ways that changes outcomes. We have placed several SITAs under administration, and a serious discussion is taking place, firstly internally in government, and of course it has to come to yourselves as part of the key role players in this regard around the rationalization of SITAs and how we can reorganize the SITA system to ensure that it yields the results that we want. And similarly, the declaration by the President that we have to move and shift in terms of the skills development levy from 20% to 40% are some of the things that we need to do urgently if we are to realize impact. But we need all of this applied more consistently, more visibly, and also with greater consequence. And we must also be honest about this council itself. The HRDC has all the right architecture, but a body that meets periodically, produces communiques, and waits 3 years or 4 years for the next summit to check whether anything has happened is not an accountability body. It is merely a consultation forum. We believe the summit's deliberation should surface that question directly. How should we make this structure more effective? We're not going to preempt these conversations, but we believe they need to come out of this summit, some of them. But what we will say is this, that we're prepared to act on what those deliberations have produced, and are of course aware that there may be fatigue on the discussions around the reconceptualization of the HRDC, but we believe that if approached with the same energy of the demand that our mandate requires, we should be able to turn around and ensure that this body becomes as effective under the leadership of the Deputy President. International models show us what is possible. In Saudi Arabia, under their Vision 2030, they have built 13 sector skills councils with named targets and publicly reported performance, overachievement and failure alike, and named and visible. In Australia, as we've seen, independent labor market intelligence functions that gives its skills compact authoritative data and no single constituency can dispute. Germany has built a system in which employers invest training because they co-govern that standards. Co-ownership produces co-investment. And in Ireland, we've seen how they've separated the strategic compact body from operational delivery, so each does what it is designed to do. We aspire, as the President said, to attain a dual system in our country, but we cannot have the architecture half-heartedly. We cannot say that we want a dual system without leading from and doing almost, but of course applying it to South African conditions, what the Germans are doing. Or we want a monitoring system as it happens in various other countries, but only commit to be doing those things half-heartedly. We need to ensure that each and every one of our sectors commit, if we are indeed to achieve the set goals and aspirations which we've set ourselves. All of these models, as I said, have something in common. The targets are named, the responsible parties are named, the data is independent, and the public can see whether commitments are made. And this, we believe, Deputy President, is the direction in which we must point through this summit. When we sign the declaration in this summit, we will also be making commitments. Each constituency, government, business, labor, civil society will be putting its name to obligations. The question we need to resolve is how do we ensure that we report on the commitments that we're making? Otherwise, that declaration will be nothing but a piece of paper. We've had that there are various preferences, and I think we should be able to get through all of those discussions here in this summit on how do we hold each other accountable. Because if it is only going to be government that accounts and accounts to itself, then therefore what the HRDC would merely become would be beyond it being a compact and just merely a platform where government comes to account. Towards conclusion, Deputy President, for us as government, we are, as the largest delegation here in this room, should obviously lead by example. The commitments that government makes in this declaration should not just be aspirational, but should also be performance obligations. TVET colleges that are not yet, there are TVET colleges, for instance, that are not yet trusted, CETAs that are not yet performing, qualifications frameworks that are not yet responsive. These sit in government's house. That accountability sits with us, and we must accept it. To both organized business, our youth unemployment crisis is not a social problem that business can observe from a distance. It is a structural feature of an economy that is not absorbing the people it educates. The skills development levy you pay, the workplaces you control, the hiring decisions you make, these are the instruments that either close the gap or leave it open. That, the compact being signed tomorrow, is a performance commitment with a reporting obligations. We ask business to be a genuine partner in designing the reporting model, not to avoid it. If business says to us that we're training young people not relevant to the skills that they want, we therefore need reliable mechanisms that we can trust so that when TVET colleges train, when CETAs train, when the National Skills Fund train, they are training on the basis of something that is reliable. When our qualifications authorities design qualifications, it should be based on demand. When all of these structures come together into a system that cuts across from early childhood to university, all of this need to speak and be responsive to what the system demands and not determine what should be the demand from the system. And to organized labor, the skills revolution is not a threat to workers. It is the protection that retraining, upskilling, and new qualifications pathways provide in the face of disruption that is coming, whether we act or not. The question is whether workers face that change with skills and pathways behind them or without. The compact you're signing tomorrow is labor's instrument for ensuring the answer is the former. To civil society, the communities you represent, the ones furthest from our cities, furthest from our colleges, furthest from our work-integrated learning placements, and the bursaries and the career guidance are the ones this strategy is most agently for. Your voice in this summit is not supplementary, it is the accountability check on everything else. So I said that our mandate is to ensure from this summit that we push the mandate from the State of the Nation address in terms of the skills revolution. Therefore, I would like to take this opportunity, Deputy President, Program Director, if you allow me, to have the pleasure to invite the Chairperson of the Council and the Deputy President of the Republic of South Africa, His Excellency Paul Mashatile, to firstly, on behalf of this Council and all its constituencies, receive the reconceptualized human resource development strategy and the master skills plan, and also subsequent to that, to also address the summit. Deputy President, the floor is yours. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. You may be seated. Program Director, Deputy Minister Dube Ngube, Minister of Higher Education and Training, Minister Budi Manamela, Acting Premier of Gauteng, Me Nkomo, Premiers from other provinces. I'm told we do have Premier Zamani Sol amongst us. And there may be other premiers that I've not seen or representatives of the premiers. Deputy Chairperson of the HRD Council, Mr. Duncan Luvuno, and Dr. Tembi Kaba, and the former deputy chairs who are present amongst us this morning. Let me also recognize the head of the Secretariat of the Human Resource Development Council of South Africa, Mr. Maliviwe Lumka, leaders of business, labor, civil society who are here with us, our Director General, DG Baleni, and all other DGs who are here this morning, and all government officials who are with us. Ladies and gentlemen, Dumela, good morning. And let me say all protocol observed in case I've missed someone who should have been acknowledged. I know Deputy Minister Gondwe is also with us, sitting somewhere. And I would like to recognize you as well. Program Director, it is both an honor and a privilege on behalf of the Government of the Republic of South Africa to welcome you to the 5th Human Resource Development Council. We've gathered under the timely and compelling theme, living and working in a changing world. We convened during a period of significant transformation, both globally and domestically. Equally, the meeting of the Human Resource Development Council takes place shortly after the successful launch of the artificial laboratory at the HRD TVET College in Mpumalanga. This initiative adds to a growing number of interventions aimed at aligning skills development with emerging technologies and the evolving needs of the economy. These efforts include the expansion of centers of specialization at TVET colleges in areas such as digital electronics, automation and advanced manufacturing, the integration of coding, robotics, and data analytics into basic and post-school education curricula, partnership with the private sector to establish digital skill academies and industrialize training hubs, and the use of online platforms to widen access to scarce and future-oriented skills. Collectively, Such initiatives demonstrate the importance of scaling technology-driven skills programs so that South Africa's human resource development system remains responsive to rapid technological change, including artificial intelligence, digitalization, and automation, while preparing young people and workers for jobs of the future. The ways we learn, work, and engage in society are undergoing significant transformation. Technological innovation, demographic shifts, environmental challenges, and economic uncertainty are realities that are reshaping the definition of work itself. In such a context, these realities compel us to rethink not only skills for jobs, but also human development for life. Against this background, this summit represents an important turning point. It coincides with the launch of the reconceptualized Human Resource Development Strategy 2025 to 2035. Alongside its implementation framework, the Master Skills Plan 2025 to 2030, and it will culminate in the adoption of a summit declaration that reaffirms our shared responsibility as social partners. Minister Manamela, we wish to acknowledge and commend your leadership in finalizing this reconceptualized strategy and the accompanying Master Skills Plan. Together, these instruments will guide and energize our collective efforts to advance human resource development over the coming decades. This fifth iteration of the HRD strategy, first introduced in 2001 and periodically reviewed, confronts lessons that have emerged over time. Among them, uneven ownership, fragmented implementation, and a limited appreciation of human development, narrow skills acquisitions. In earlier phases, particularly within the post-school education training system, the focus rested heavily on employable skills, especially within colleges. Since the 2021 summit, however, the pace and scale of global change, most notably the rapid rise of artificial intelligence, have compelled decisive shift in emphasis. Today, access in a dynamic and uncertain world increasingly depends on human and social capabilities such as analytical thinking, communication, creativity, collaboration, resilience, and adaptation. Automation and AI are transforming industries at a speed that often exceeds the ability of education and training systems to respond, leading to a growing skills gap that threatens workforce readiness and economic stability. At the same time, South Africa's youthful population is reshaping workplace culture and expectations, while climate change is redefining how and where people live, learn, and earn, necessitating a shift in educational approaches, better prepare individuals for these evolving challenges. In this environment of a changing world, technical competence alone is no longer sufficient. Ethical leadership, critical thinking, and social capabilities are now equally essential. Our challenge, therefore, is not simply one of skills alignment rather, but of capability expansion as well. It is precisely for this reason that the reconceptualized HRD strategy moved deliberately beyond narrow supply-side understanding of human resource development. It embraces a holistic value chain from early childhood development to lifelong learning, from employability to productive citizenship, and from economic participation to social cohesion. These instruments, the reconceptualized HRD strategy and the Master Skills Plan, are launched under the unifying banner of one country, one strategy, one plan. This is a conscious response to the fragmentation, duplication, and uneven execution that have in the past weakened our collective impact. It is also an apt vision for a nation governed through a government of national unity, one that recognizes human development as a shared, all-encompassing national endeavor. As we advance the medium-term development plan, we are acutely aware of the urgency of confronting South Africa's triple challenges of poverty, inequality, and unemployment. This summit must therefore do more than diagnose the problems. It must help us determine how we can act together decisively, coherently, and at scale. The reconceptualized HRD strategy and the MSP are intended to be practical guides for this joint endeavor. And I trust that by the conclusion of this summit, we will stand ready to commit to their implementation. Ladies and gentlemen, in support of these core policy documents, we are introducing an addendum, a dynamic supporting instrument that the Council will update as circumstances evolve. These documents are the product of extensive consultation across all constituencies. In the interest of progress, the HRD Council has already endorsed the strategy for implementation. In a moment, I will formally hand over copies of the strategy to the leaders of business, organized labor, and civil society. I invite every constituency to reflect carefully on how and where it can contribute to advancing these priorities. This strategy does not replace existing plans and programs. Rather, it aligns them, clarifies national priorities across each thematic area, and strengthens our ability to monitor progress at the macro level. The strategy must be understood as a guide for how we work together. Reports to Council should not be treated as compliance or compliance exercises, but as opportunities to highlight collaboration, problem solving, and shared impact. Guided by the National Development Plan, the reconceptualized strategy identifies 4 goals and 12 interventions across the HRDC's 3 thematic areas. In schooling, these include early childhood development, reading for meaning, and curricular differentiation, each requiring deep collaboration as we move forward. In youth development, the emphasis falls on relevant short courses, expanded workplace experience, particularly within growth sectors such as the green and digital economies. Building a capable state, the third thematic area, demands close coordination across government, supported by institutions such as the Public Service Commission and the National School of Government, with active participation from labor and business. Therefore, what we seek from this summit is a simple but powerful commitment that whatever we do in the field of human development, we will do together in partnership with relevant social actors. A draft declaration reflecting this commitment has been circulated, and we hope constituency leaders will formally signal their support as we conclude this summit. We recognize without hesitation that government alone cannot deliver development. Skills, employability, and state capability require deep social compact grounded in trust, in accountability, and shared ownership. This understanding is formalized in the summit declaration, through which we should commit to affirming the strategy and master skills plan as our collective blueprints, strengthening implementation of existing social compacts, refreshing them to respond to technological and labor market change, and reporting annually to demonstrate real collaborative impact. The declaration is significant because it shifts us decisively from policy intent to shared accountability. It recognizes that living and working in a changing world demands that we work differently together. Our work should remain firmly grounded in South Africa's lived realities. While recent labor force data offers modest encouragement, it also reveals a sobering truth. Millions of discouraged work seekers. Minister Butima Namela indicated that a lot of young people who are in the streets, who are sitting at home and not doing anything. So it's important that this must be one of the issues that we really attend to, particularly these young people who have disengaged entirely from the labor market. For them, exclusion from work represents not only an economic loss, but also a loss of dignity, purpose, and hope. It is for this reason that the strategy identifies 4 catalytic goals with the potential to unlock the system-wide impact. Improving early learning and schooling outcomes, recognizing that foundational capabilities determine life opportunities. Improving the employability of youth who are not in employment, in education, or training, especially through short courses, work-based learning, and entrepreneurship. Enhancing responsiveness of the post-school education training system, particularly to skills demanded by the green, digital, and care economies. Building a capable, ethical, and developmental state without which no reform can be sustained. Program Director, together, these catalytic goals are designed to trigger system-wide impact, to ignite renewal, and to ensure that our people live and work with dignity in a changing world. Colleagues, South Africa does not suffer from shortage of plans. Our vulnerability lies in implementation gaps, weak coordination, and uneven ownership, which hinder the effectiveness of existing plans and prevent us from achieving our development goals. That is why the HRD Council, supported by its secretariat and standing committees, must now intensify its role as a convener, monitor, and problem solver. Reports to Council must help unblock constraints, leverage partnership, and demonstrate real progress on the ground. The strategy and the MSP are explicit. They are living instruments, and their custodians will be held accountable over the next decade. This summit, therefore, marks not the end of a planning cycle, but a beginning of a delivery phase. We need to get things done with no procrastination. The idea of living and working in a changing world is about agency. It is about ensuring that South Africans, especially the youth, are not passive victims of change, but active shapers of their future. Our responsibility is to keep development pathways open, relevant, and dignified. Allow me at this stage to formally recognize the members of the newly appointed HRD Council, who will be custodians of this strategy. This council represents all constituencies, and we have already witnessed their collaborative efforts to enhance human resource development in South Africa. We trust that council members will take ownership of the strategy and ensure that it is properly socialized amongst all members. Honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to formally launch the reconceptualized human resource development strategy 2025 to 2035 and to declare the 5th HRDC Summit officially open. I wish you fruitful deliberation and look forward to receiving your resolutions and recommendations. Akensa Inko.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. Can we please give Deputy President a real round of applause for, and indeed, Deputy President, we are committing ourselves as this collective of the HRDC to accelerate the implementation of the social compact with clear timelines and accountability mechanisms. We are committing ourselves to institutionalize work-based planning and work-based learning, as the Minister has said, as a core pillar of our education and training system, ensuring that every learner has access to practical experience, working and practical experience as this cohort of the HRDC Council. We also committing ourselves to strengthening the partnerships between government, business, labor, academia, moving collaborations into principal collaborations in practice. We are committing ourselves to modernize our skills development systems, prioritizing youth, and as well as ensuring that inclusivity, that is women, persons with disability, rural communities, full integrated economic mainstream, and building a responsive and resilient labor market capable of adapting to global shifts while safeguarding local livelihood of our communities. And we are very clear about the line of march that you have given us here this morning, that the time for complacency has passed and the era of talk shop has gone, and the tangible outcomes that we'd like to see from this collective is the one that we are going to be working on. At this point, let me call the constituency representatives who will receive copies of the conceptualized HRD strategy and the master skills plan on the behalf of the constituency as the Deputy President has launched. I will call on the constituency, starting with business, Mr. Kulekani Mate, who would come up on stage, and Mr. Khadi Matabane, also from business, to come on stage. From organized labor, we wish to call Mr. Gerald Twala, as well as from the civil society, Mr. Tulani Tsefuta from the civil society convener. Ladies and gentlemen, if you could please come up on stage to come and receive the conceptualized strategy from the Deputy President, Tulani from the civil society, Mr. Gerald Twala from labor on the NEDLEC side, business, Mr. Mate and Matabane, as well as those that have been called representatives. You would help me, Secretariat, if I'm missing out on anybody, please. Who am I missing? Am I missing the minister? No. Thank you very much, Deputy President, for that, and to all the sectoral representatives for coming to receive the constituency reconceptualized HRDC strategy, master plan, and skills plans. We spoke earlier with the Minister and the Deputy President that those skills plans, we hope that they are not the ones that are written by the consultants, but they are the ones that are talking to the actual skills that are needed in the industry, and the ones that will bring about the change in the workplace, and also ensure that we deal with the issue of the skills mismatch that we see in and around our working environment. At this point, allow me, ladies and gentlemen, to first extend our apology for the late start to our program due to the accreditation glitches that were experienced by many of you this morning. We really apologize for that. As you would have seen, that the accreditation was done by the agency on behalf of government, and we do apologize for the inconvenience and for that delay. We will ensure that we better plan and coordinate next time. At this point, our program, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be moving quite swiftly, moving from here. Having received the launch, as you see from your program, that we've now launched the reconceptualized HRD strategy, and the Deputy President has also officially opened this summit here, day one. We are now going to take a tea break. After the tea break, we will then come back to the sessions that will then take us to the next segment of the session, dealing with the living and working in a changing world, which will be facilitated by Professor Somadoda Fikeni, who is the HRD Council member. We request, ladies and gentlemen, that we were expected to have a tea break of 20 minutes, but it is requested that we have a tea break of 15 minutes, if that at all is possible, that we come back here at 11:05. Is that? Yeah. At 11:05, we come back. If we could have a break, and we come back at 11:05. Can we take a break now? Three minutes of your break has already gone.
see her floating lazily through the market like a butterfly. Oh yeah, I won't forget the day the sun came shining in. Hey, hey, now. Oh yes, just like the dawn, bringing in the rays for that sunshine in Congo. A flaming torch, she lit up the marketplace so brightly. Colors as in a flower garden, gracing her lapa, shimmering in purples and yellows, and all the shades sparkling in the skies in